Hey guys, Deathbyphiw here. There's a new patch for Season 11. I'm going to go through each and every detail and tell you what the changes mean for you. So, stick around. So, let's skip to the good parts, right? We know the new map Runasapi's out. And one of the biggest things here that they changed is for competitive play updates, rank percentage is now displayed on the competitive progress page, allowing you to check your exact percentage without playing another match, which is just a huge quality of life update because I felt that was so stupid that we had to wait to play another game, win or loss, to see what the percentage was. Now we can see it at all times. They modified some of the streaks, you know, not that big of a deal here for anything. So here are updates. General knockdown time when two charging abilities collide reduced from 2 to 1.7 seconds. So they just felt like the stun time reduction was just a little too long, so they shortened it by 0.3 seconds. So if you are knocked down, it'll be 0.3 seconds quicker. Diva, some micro buffs to Diva here. It's nothing too crazy, just more or less like her weapon spread is being reduced from 3.75 to 3.375 degrees. It just makes her easier to hit smaller targets like a Kiriko or something, or a Tracer. So that just helps out a little bit. And the booster impact damage was increased from 15 to 25. Little micro buffs here, nothing too crazy, nothing game breaking. Junker Queen is about the same exact concept. So with the tank knockback patch, that update made it harder for tanks to get knocked back, right? So there was a resistant passive there also in pulling them, right? So in this case, her knife now pulls them more. Instead of it only being 3 meters or so, it's now 5 to 6 meters instead when she uses her jagged blade. And then her rampage startup time was reduced from 0.75 to 0.5 seconds. Very small little micro buffs, nothing too crazy here. Orisa, of course, for some reason is getting a buff because I guess she's not as good as she was in the current meta. It's kind of like middle of the pack here, but her javelin spin cooldown is being reduced from 9 to 8 seconds. So I don't know, it just makes her survivability a little tiny bit better. Moving on over to Roadhog. Now, Roadhog has been like probably arguably the best tank in the game besides Maga for this season, and they are making him, I wouldn't say bad, but nowhere near as good as he is. So they say Roadhog's already powerful, survivability increased significantly with the headshot damage reduction from the tank roll passive. So these changes are to help bring that back in line. So base health is being reduced from 650 to 600. That's a huge nerf, 50 health decrease. And Take a Breather is getting a damage reduction reduced from 50 to 40%. I was one of the folks saying that this should have just been the nerf from the last patch when they kind of made him a little bit weaker with a little bit of a nerf, but it didn't really do much. His Take a Breather is just way too strong. Even when he's antied, he's getting damage reduction and you're breathing it in, you know. So he may not be getting healed, but he is getting a reduction in damage. This 40% reduction brings it back to the way it was before any sort of buffs. This is a huge nerf. This is what we would call a giga nerf for Roadhog. So I think he's not going to be as good anymore, which is fine in my opinion. Cassidy has like a full-length essay of all the changes. So first off, if you haven't played Overwatch 1, in Overwatch 1 he used to have a flashbang where he would throw a grenade out. It would go like maybe like 5 meters or so, and it would flashbang. And when that flashbang happened, it would stun the target. So it would be like an effective counter to a Tracer, or you would be able to throw it over barriers like a Reinhardt shield to stun the Rein to make his shield go down so you could have that Reinhardt be vulnerable. So they're bringing that back, but a little bit of a change here, right? So his flashbang, the magnetic grenade ability is now flashbang. It hinders the enemy instead of stunning them, right? So it won't be old flashbang 100%. It's half of it. It's flashbang 5 meters out, flashes, it hinders them, so it will slow them down. So the movement speed reduction increased from 30 to 50%. So you're even slower. And it lasts for 1.2 seconds, does 45 initial damage, and it has a 12-second cooldown. His secondary fire fan hammer got a nerf. It's being nerfed from 50 to 45 damage per bullet. He has 60 bullets in his gun. So now it's a net reduction of 30 damage overall, which is pretty significant as far as him being able to basically fan the hammer, on a tank and then roll Fan the Hammer again instantly. He used to be able to do, I believe it was 600 damage. Now he'll be doing, with those two abilities, right? Now he will be doing, actually it was, yeah. So 6 bullets times 50 is 300 damage per Fan the Hammer. He was able to Fan the Hammer, then roll and Fan the Hammer. He used to do 600 damage. Now it's 30 damage less per Fan the Hammer. So he would be doing 270 instead of 300, and it would be a total of 640. So it's a 60 net reduction as far as when you use those abilities interchanging with one another. His combat roll damage reduction is getting nerfed from 75% to 50%, so he will still be able to survive a Tracer Pulse Bomb, but he will have less health than before. What he will not be able to survive anymore is a D.Va ultimate. D.Va ultimate within the closest range does 1,000 damage. A 75% reduction, since he has I believe 275 HP. When he would roll, he would have 25 HP left, because a 75% reduction is 750 damage reduced from her ult, which is 1,000. It damages him for 250. He has 25 HP left over. He survives. Now he will no longer survive. He will only take away 500 of that D.Va ult damage, and out of the 300 damage pulse bomb, he will take 150, so he can still survive a pulse bomb. And then Deadeye is getting, I think of this as a net buff. So his movement speed penalty now scales down over time from 70% to 35%. So that means as soon as you hit your ultimate button, you know how he kind of like slows down and moves slowly? It scales over time. So he starts at 70% and he moves slowly, but as the ultimate goes on for as long as it lasts, he gets faster and faster and faster. So think of it as like Lucio speed boosting him, and he's ulting and he's just immediately starts going faster. Like he amps it up, he goes faster. This is in his ultimate. It will go faster as you have the ultimate longer, so he moves faster. Now on the contrary, damage reduction now scales down over time. So if he does 40% damage reduction, but as his ultimate gets nearer and closer to the end of the timer, he will get less and less damage reduction, all the way down to 0%. So I'm not really sure how this is going to affect Cass. He's pretty strong right now, like high A tier. I think this makes him better with the flashbang ability, but too soon to tell. We'll find out as the season goes on. Mei is getting some quality of life changes, which I'm okay with. You know, they're the tank busters, right? Mei and Reaper, and they got some changes here. Her secondary fire, so her projectile size, so when she uses her secondary fire, the projectile shoots out instead of her spray. Its size has been reduced from 0.15 to 0.12, so a little bit smaller. So they increased her damage by 10 from 75 to 85. So it makes it a little bit stronger with her secondary fire, but also a little bit harder to hit, which I am fine with. Reaper is getting his spread reduced from 6.5 to 6 degrees, kind of just like with D.Va. The nerfs to these heroes that have spread damage, like D.Va's spread damage and Reaper's spread damage with the armor buffs, were pretty significant here, and it made them harder also to just kill anything. So in this case, they're making it easier for heroes like D.Va and Reaper to hit smaller targets, and this is what it does with Reaper. And also, like, it just makes his spread smaller, so it's more concise and closer. Nothing too crazy, a little bit better. And his cast time for his shadow step, so his little teleport, is reduced from 1.5 to 1.2 seconds. So a little bit harder for you to react to it, because I feel like his shadow step is so easy to like just shoot him when he cast it. Little quality life buff for Reaper. Now Sojourn's getting changes here, and I think what they were trying to do is, I don't know, I mean, did they not know that Sojourn is broken S tier right now, really strong? In this case, she gets, in my opinion, a net buff across the board. She has one nerf to her secondary fire damage, so scaling reduced from 30 to 130 damage, 30 being the floor, 130 being the ceiling. It's now reduced to 1 and 100, so 1 to 100 damage on her railgun. Now her secondary fire projectile no longer requires overclock to pierce enemy players. That is a buff, so piercing enemy players, right? So armor piercing, stuff like that. You don't need to overclock as an ultimate. Use your ultimate to have your piercing through that armor and do extra damage. She can get that extra damage without having to use her ultimate. If she gets to 100, it pierces through. Same thing if it's like 10 charge or 20 charge or 50 charge. It pierces through, does a bit more damage than before. Whereas her ultimate always pierces. Her primary fire shoots shots per second increased from 14 to 16. So now she's shooting 2 more bullets more per second. Once again, another buff. And her overclock energy charge rate increased from 100 to 120 per second. So when she ultimates, she uses her ultimate, her overclock, and now charges faster. So she's able to shoot quicker and get more full charge shots out on her railgun. It's pretty crazy in my opinion. Symmetra is getting some buffs. She's not real. She's in an iffy area right now, an iffy place, gray area as far as what you do with her. But they increasing her base health from 100 to 125. So her total health is now goes up to 275 from 250. Her photon projector, her primary fire charge rate increased 25%. So this is a big change to her. When she gets up close, she's gonna be a major tank buster. Like she can significantly melt tanks. She's gonna be charging up that her primary fire a lot quicker than before. So that beam charge is gonna melt things. She gets nano, she's gonna melt things. This may be the worst thing in this patch, potentially, for tanks. So keep an eye out for this. Illari is kind of good right now, and she's getting some buffs. So her damage on her outburst is a little micro change. It's being increased from 10 to 25. The biggest changes here are with her healing pylon. The healing per projectile increased from 30 to 40 healing on each projectile. So this is the way it was when she was originally released. However, the healing pools did increase since then. So this is kind of like trying to compensate for that healing pool increase. So not too crazy here as far as what I think. It will make her better than what she is now. And pylon healing is now only half as effective when targeting Illari. So Illari's 1v1 capability here is now decreased. She goes to the backline, tries to 1v1 somebody, and she throws her pylon down. It's only going to heal her for 20 heals per projectile instead of the full 40. And her max health increased from 100 to 125. So pretty decent buffs here for Illari. She may fall into the meta. I think this is the best and biggest change in this entire patch, but I really do think Kiriko is going to get dethroned this season. She's not going to be like one of the best supports in the game. She'll still be very good, but this may, you know, further push Lucio, maybe even push Bap and Ana up the tier list as being the superior supports. So Kiriko's Swift Step, her ability to teleport, the cooldown has been increased from 7 to 8 seconds, and her protection Suzu no longer cleanses hard knockdown stun. So if there's a Rhine Shatter, doesn't cleanse it. If there's a Brig, and when she ults and she hits a Rhine who's charging and they fall down, it doesn't cleanse it. Any sort of hard knockdown stuns, where they're not a sleep dart, right, from Ana, any sort of hard knockdown stun, Suzu does not cleanse them, as in doesn't wake them up. It can still make them immortality, they won't take damage when for that second that they use it on her, and it will heal them, but it won't cleanse. So there's 3 things happening when Suzu happens. There's the immortality, where they don't take damage. There's the initial 100 heal burst when the Suzu hits, and then there's the cleanse. So like if you're slowed, if you're slept, if you're knocked down, that's the cleansing part. The cleanse doesn't apply to knockdown. So Reinhardt Shatter is the epitome of what a hard knockdown is. Anytime you get knocked down to the ground and you're stunned, and it's not an effect like a sleep dart from Ana, you cannot be woken up by Suzu. So if you get a full Rhine Shatter on your team and Kiri's there and she cleanses it, they will all get shattered. It doesn't matter. And then map updates. So there's the Colosseo updates where they remove the glass. So here's the before, the after. Here's the before, here's the after. The glass is moved. And then they changed the spawn room. Before there was no barrier here. Now after there's a barrier. So this is definitely better. And then before here, this little area, which I always hated, it felt like so close and like a cluster. It's now very open and there's a health pack. So this is a major change to the game. And I think this is significantly better. Match time for push maps have been decreased by 2 minutes in quick play, make those games a little bit faster, but not applied to comp. But they did increase the push robot speed by 10% when pushing the barricade for both quick play and competitive. Then there's bugs and stuff. You could check that out. I'll leave the patch notes down in the description below. So yeah, that's it. So that's pretty much it for the patch for season 11. You let me know in the comments below, like, do you agree or disagree with my thoughts here, or what's the biggest changes that you like? As always, make sure to like this video, drop a comment, share this with a friend, and please, 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 most of all, subscribe to my YouTube channel because it keeps me motivated to continue making gaming content videos like this. And as always, happy gaming.